All right, so we've got some folks coming in. So thank you for joining us today. We're here with Michelle and Sarah from Strive Worldwide, and our topic is Unwritten Rules, Social Skills Decoded. So I will give a bit of background for them. Michelle Roy is a Strive Worldwide instructor and has been teaching for the program for about a year. Michelle has been working with Worldwide's parent company, Strive, since 2022 in community support roles. She lives in Belfast, where she enjoys spending time with her family, reading, and exploring other towns along the coast of Maine. Michelle says that the best part of her job is connecting with the students and seeing how excited they are about coming to class to learn and practice new skills. Michelle has a degree in psychology from the University of Maine at Fort Kent. And Sarah Brown is the program manager for Strive Worldwide and has been involved with the program since its inception in 2019. Sarah has worked for Worldwide's parent company Strive since 2004 in roles including residential and community support, transitional education, and employee education. She lives in Westbrook, Maine, where she enjoys reading, cooking, and tabletop role-playing games. Sarah says the best part of her job is noticing light bulb moments when students grasp new concepts for the first time and watching students build relationships with peers. Sarah has a degree in sociology from the University of Southern Maine and an education technology certification in the state of Maine. Okay, everyone. So we can utilize the chat and the Q&A if you have any questions, and we'll be here to answer them. And you can turn on captions if you'd like to. And otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to Sarah and Michelle.
All right, great. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen, so if it looks different all of a sudden, that's on purpose. There we go. And out of force of habit, I almost clicked record, but we're already recording, and this is not my recording. So this is something that Michelle and I do fairly often. We teach online a lot. So we are ready. Here is our plan for today. Welcome to Strive Worldwide in the Arc of New Jersey presents Unwritten Rules, Social Skills Decoded. How about a little, you already heard about us. Michelle, do you want to introduce our program?
Yeah, I would love to. So, our program is Strive Worldwide. We offer 5-week courses on independent living topics designed for neurodiverse learners with twice weekly live seminars with peers. Our session today is modeled after a typical seminar, so you'll get a taste of what we do today. Our program also offers additional self-paced curriculum for independent study. We have 5 units of supporting video and activity homework for students who want to deepen their learning. It's totally optional. Completion of the self-paced unit generates a course completion certificate, and students completing a course are recognized on our honor roll at our Strive Worldwide socials. It's our course party open to everyone between our courses. So in that 6 weeks before we start another 5-week set of courses, we all get together and have some fun. And our students who completed courses are honored there. So mark your calendars. Our next social is, we will put it in the chat box. It is always online, always free. And if you have participated with any Strive Worldwide activity, you are invited. So we will give you some more info on that.
So mark your, I'm going to try to type and talk at the same time. Mark your calendar if you want to come and, oops, I spelled calendar wrong. For 11/4. So November 4, I just tried to write, oh, I am struggling. Here we go. I can't talk and type at the same time. Mark your calendar for 11/4. If you would like to go, send me an email. We will make sure that you get invited. And that is our social coming up next. I think our theme we decided as a group is going to be a Halloween/pajama party. So come and do spooky things in our PJs as far as we've gotten as planning for there. But that is selected by our students. They were pretty excited about that idea. So we said, let's go with it. All right. Do you want to share the agenda with us too?
Sure. So here's what we are going to talk about today. First up, we are going to start with a little bit of housekeeping and our icebreakers, which is just an introduction and a little bit of light social conversation that we do with our students to start out classes. Then we are going to get into it with what is this about? We're going to talk about the basics of unwritten rules and social skills. And then we are going to get into relationships and boundaries and self-awareness. We're going to play a game called Love It or Leave It. We're going to talk about social skills, and we are going to end with roses and thorns, which we will talk about when we get there.
And we've got lots of extra goodies in here, so if we're going really fast, we got plenty of stuff to fill. We've got so much stuff that we want to share with everybody that there's not a chance that we're going to get through it all. But maybe. So I know that we'll get through at least some social cues and lots more good stuff. So you've met us. Let's meet you. We've got a little introduction and an icebreaker slide here. Oh, hang on. Before we get there, let's do some housekeeping. So housekeeping is ways that we keep our things running smoothly. And one of those big parts is to agree to some expectations. So we want to remind everybody to treat people that you want to be treated. If you need a break, go ahead and take a break. You don't need to ask to go to the bathroom or anything like that. Go do your thing. Come back when you're ready. Kind and respectful words only in the chat box, please. Make sure that we're not sharing any private information. We're going to leave our mics off and raise our hands to speak. And I think for the most part, we're just going to use the chat box, so you don't even have to worry about that. And we want you to play along in the chat box. We've got lots of activities designed for chat box participation. And that's what the new chat box looks like. I wrote no lines, no waiting in the chat because this is kind of like the express lane. Rather than raising your hand and waiting for a chance to speak, if you can put it in the chat box, everybody can type at the same time without interrupting each other. Cool. So no lines, no waiting in the chat box. And now I was getting ahead of myself because I'm excited. I like meeting new people. So let's do some introductions. You've met us. We want to meet you. We've got a little fill in the blank for you. It's hi, tell us your name, tell us where you're from. We assume you're probably from New Jersey, but if you're not, let us know. And then we've got an icebreaker question for everybody. I'm going to try to tally them as a poll so we can see which one is the favorite. But do you prefer pizza or tacos?
That is one tough choice.
What would you pick?
You can put me down for tacos.
You know, I wrote this slide and I didn't come up with an answer. I've had tacos pretty recently, but I think I'm due for some pizza. I'm gonna go with pizza.
Looks like
Iris also says pizza. Anybody else want to log a vote? Pizza or tacos? You can even do just P or T if that's easier to type. We've got Jenna from Sewell prefers pizza. Iris votes again for pizza. Frankie says tacos. Colin from Plainsboro, New Jersey likes pizza. All right, we're going to keep going, but if you've got votes, we still want to hear them. Check this out. Pizza is our winner today. I can't say I'm surprised. I kind of thought New Jersey would lean pizza.
you were right.
Good stuff, gang. Thanks for playing. Michelle, will you tell us what this is all about?
I would love to. I think there are lots of things that we are just expected to know. And those things are what we're going to call unwritten rules. because they aren't really written down anywhere. So here's an example. If you're on a train or bus, should you play your music on your phone through its speaker out loud for everybody to hear? Uh, Probably not, right? I think that is a thumbs down too. I think that not everybody wants to listen to what we're listening to, so I think headphones are kind of an unwritten rule when we're in public, right? If you're going to listen on public transportation, you should probably use headphones or earbuds, which is the unwritten rule, right? Society, the people around us in our community, assume that everyone knows not to listen to things without headphones or some sort on public transportation. But not everybody knows that or has been taught that. So it feels like almost as many people also feel like everybody wants to hear their music, right? And we're not going to give you a rule book today of everything that everyone in our community expects because that just doesn't exist. And even when we know all the rules, we can still choose to follow them or not, right? Do you know anybody who drives exactly the speed limit all the time?
No,
I know
probably
I
not.
don't, right? Even though we know that that's a rule, sometimes we might break it a little bit. And today, and in our larger unwritten rules social skills decoded course, we'll discuss what's expected, why people expect that, and what might happen if we don't do that. Then, when we're fully informed, we get to make the choice about what to do.
Good stuff, gang. Let's talk about relationships and boundaries. So sometimes when we say relationships, our minds jump right to dating or intimate relationships. And that's one kind of relationship. But really, what that word relationship means is a connection between people, right? How do you connect with that person? How are you related to them? Right? A boundary, in this same sense, is almost the opposite. A boundary is a limit. It can be between places or people. So today we're going to talk about limits between people. And there can be physical boundaries between people and emotional boundaries between people. Have you ever heard anybody say, respect my bubble or get out of my hula hoop? Those are two ways that sometimes people imagine physical space boundaries, like personal space. I bet I bet that most of us have heard somebody say, hey, boundaries, hey, personal space, when they're trying to get somebody to give them a little bit more space or back off a bit, right? That's one example of a physical boundary between people, right? So we'll also think about different types of relationships, right? And I think that with different types of relationships, we allow different types of people closer to us than others. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk about emotional boundaries, right? Maybe that could be saying no to something that you don't want, like, no, I don't want mustard on my sandwich, or no, I don't want to come over on Sunday, right? So saying no is one type of boundary. And another type of emotional boundary might be talking with somebody and setting limits in your relationship. Like, I won't answer work calls outside of my scheduled hours. Or I appreciate your calls, but I really prefer texting instead. Or maybe it's something like a talk between you and your roommate. Hey, can we take turns washing dishes after lunch? Right? Those are all different types of boundaries, right? And examples of them. And like I said a little bit earlier, boundaries change when relationships change. So let's see how that might work.
All right, so we are going to look at some types of relationships and talk about the boundaries that go with them. The first type of relationship we're going to talk about is a professional relationship. So these might be the people at your job or the people who work with you professionally. That might be your coworkers, your boss, your case manager, your doctor, or your home support. or maybe a day program staff. Let's think about the boundaries with our professional relationships. Would you ask them to borrow $20? Probably not, right? One
Can
of
you
the,
imagine asking your doctor, hey, can I borrow 20 bucks for lunch? I
oof,
think they'd look at me kind of silly and be like, what? No.
I agree, right? That's one of the limits with a professional boundary, right? My money is my money and your money is your money. That's the boundary. How about personal space? Is this a hugging group or a handshake group? Right? Since this is a professional group, usually at least one side of this relationship is at work, right? One of the people in this relationship is doing their job. And in most businesses, social physical contact, like hugging, is discouraged. Why? Because if one side of the hug isn't really feeling it, it can be really uncomfortable. And if someone's touch is making you uncomfortable at work, that's a big issue, right? No one should be touched without permission, so it's best to limit any physical touching at work.
Right. Even if it's hugs. Handshakes are probably okay, but that's like a hi, how are you? Like one a day is probably enough. Maybe a hello and a goodbye, but we're going to really limit touching with people that we work with.
Yeah.
Good one.
All right. What about our family and close friends? I think we've grouped these two types of relationships together because for lots of people, close friends are like their chosen family, right? Not everybody is close with their biological family, but have friends who support them in the same way a family would. And our boundaries with friends and family might be very different than our professional relationships. Would you ask them to borrow $20 for lunch? Maybe.
I think if I was going to ask anybody to borrow money, it would probably be my family or my friends, my closest friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Maybe I just don't have cash with me and I'll get something for them next time, right?
Mhm.
So I think this is also true for hugs or handshakes. I think it's whatever our individual friends and family are comfortable with, right? What about secrets? Would you share secrets with your family and close friends?
I'm more likely to share my personal secrets with my close friends and my family than I am with my coworkers.
For sure.
No disrespect.
I don't blame you, Sarah. I agree, right? I think if I were gonna share a secret with somebody, it would definitely be someone in one of these two groups, right? I might have work secrets too, right? Like professional, confidential things that I can't share with my family either, right? Those are things that I can only talk about with my coworkers. So it goes both ways. All right, so we've covered professional relationships, we've covered friends and family. Now we're going to talk about the people we don't know at all, or strangers. What are our boundaries like with strangers? Let's ask some of these questions again. Would you ask to borrow $20?
No, but have I been asked by a stranger if they could borrow money? Absolutely. And I think that the opposite is true too. I'm more likely to loan money to my friends or my family than I am to loan money to a stranger either. Right? So money passing back and forth, I think is just a friends and family thing.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree. And the same for hugs or handshakes, right? I am pretty picky with my handshakes even. So I think if it's not somebody I'm meeting in a professional setting or a friend or family member, I'm probably going to try and keep my hands to myself. And I definitely won't share my secrets, right? I think that is probably a boundary that most of us have. We don't share secrets with strangers.
And there are other types of relationships too. We just didn't want to go into all of them today because we could spend all day talking about different types of relationships. But we tried to group them into 3 kind of sections to talk about how is that different. Cool. I think it must be self-awareness week because I feel like I've talked about self-awareness in every class that I've taught this week. And that's probably because it's really important. Self-awareness is, if you learn nothing else from us, remember that self-awareness is knowing yourself. There's lots more details there too, but self-awareness is knowing yourself and being able to identify your strengths, your limitations, your strengths and your limitations or weaknesses, and your likes and your dislikes, and also your values and emotions. Why do you think self-awareness might be so important in a class about social skills, Michelle?
I think that if we know ourselves, I think that it can help us to know how we can interact with the world around us.
I agree, right? So knowing ourselves and why we do what we do is a big part of how we interact with others. When we know our strengths, it can help us to be self-confident. And when we think about our weaknesses, we know where we have room to grow and what sort of things we might need to ask for help with. And then when we know our likes and dislikes, it can help us advocate for what we want, even if it's something like asking for milk in our coffee. That's an act of self-advocacy, right? So, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't know that about myself, right? And when we know what we don't like, that can also help us improve our communication and share that information. Like, oh, yes, I would like milk, please, but no sugar. Right? So I can explain those things for myself and then get more of what I want. Right? And when we understand our emotions, it can help us to manage them well and help us to respond thoughtfully and help us to understand what other people might be thinking or feeling. And that's empathy. And that's pretty important these days. What do you think? Do you want to play a little game to help us practice knowing ourselves?
I'm ready for a game.
I always want to play a game. How do we play it? Love it or leave it?
All right. So we said that knowing yourself sometimes mean knowing what you like or dislike. So we're going to turn that into a game called Love It or Leave It. We're going to show you a picture and you tell us if it's something that you like or dislike. You can put an L for like in the chat box or a D for dislike in the chat box. And I think this game is so fun because we get to see how we're similar to other people and how we might be different, and that's pretty cool.
All right. Our first one is spicy food. What do you think? Do you like spicy food or you dislike spicy food? Colin very quickly says D for dislike. Michelle says like. Jenna says love. I think I'm probably someplace in the middle. I don't love super spicy things, but like a little bit of spice, I'm okay with. I personally really like to control how much spicy it is. So if there's spice on the side that I could add a little hot sauce or something, I probably will. But that way I can always add more, but I can't, if it's this bowl of chili powder that I'm supposed to eat, I can't really take that out of there, huh? Whew.
That would be spicy.
Dara says also dislike. Good stuff. What's next?
Next up, we have reality TV.
I'm gonna draw a little line in the chat. Jenna likes reality TV. How do you feel about reality TV, Michelle?
Um, it's hard because there's such different reality TV shows, but I am a Survivor fan, so I would say I'm somewhere in the middle, and I like some, but I don't watch lots of it. What about you?
I think there's some kinds that I do like. Um, a couple of our classes have been like, what about Jeopardy? Is Jeopardy reality TV? And I was like, ooh, good point. I do really like game shows. I
Yeah.
also really like the Food Network. And what do you think? Are cooking shows reality TV?
I think so. They're real people on TV. It's not scripted for the most part.
Yeah, Colin says he could get behind Wheel of Fortune, but the rest of these, maybe not. And I haven't watched Survivor for a really long time, but I'm not against it. Yeah, good stuff. All right, how do you guys feel about mayonnaise?
This is a controversial one.
Colin says dislike. Dara's okay with cooking shows. Jenna likes mayonnaise.
I'm
I
giving
like mayonnaise significantly better than mustard. Looks like Michelle's into. And I grew up in a Miracle Whip household. So if you had me choose between Miracle Whip or mayonnaise, I would choose that. But I know a lot of people really don't like that.
Yeah, I feel very strongly about that, Sarah.
That's okay.
Not the same thing.
No, not at all the same thing. Looks like Dara's saying no, thank you. You love mustard. Oh, that is a no, thank you for me. That's great. We can make sure that we won't eat each other's sandwiches. All right, what do we got next?
Next up, we have camping.
Ooh, I am an L to camping. I like camping. Colin does too. Jenna says nope. Fair.
I'm with Jenna. It is not for me. If my friends go camping, I will gladly bring them coffee in the morning after sleeping in an inside bed.
I do have an opportunity to go camping this weekend, so it's a maybe on my to-do list.
Love it.
Colin likes the food, the fire, the s'mores. Same here, bud. Same here. All right, how about one more? How do you feel about if you thought mayonnaise was polarizing, big feelings both ways? How do you feel about clowns? I really have no strong feelings about clowns in either direction.
I don't either. I used to not like them as a kid. I thought they were scary, but now I'm not so I'm not so scared, but I'm also not into it.
I used to really like clowns when I was little, and now I'm kind of like, eh. Jenna says they're okay. Colin likes them. Dara dislikes them. And certainly this kind of clown doesn't look as scary as some of the ones we'll probably see come Halloween.
Yeah, Sarah, I think we should do one more because I know this topic is controversial for East Coasters as well.
All right. One more. We could be here all day.
Good.
What about snow? A snowy day. Colin loves it. Jenna says hate. Fair. Dara dislikes. Iris loves it. I like to look at the snow. I don't particularly love doing things in the snow, but it's one of those things. It's like I live in Maine. I'm gonna have to deal with it, so I might as well like it a little bit because I'm gonna have to deal with it either way. It is pretty, you're right. If I could be inside and not have to do anything, go for it. Snow all day. What do you think, Michelle?
I agree. If I could just look at it, I would love it. But because I have to usually deal with it in some way, I'm kind of on the dislike side of things.
Good one. If it could snow and then stop and like disappear, like when it gets almost to the ground and like not land and build up and make anything slippery or a bummer, then I'd be all for that.
That'd be perfect.
All right. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set us up for our next set of activities, and then Michelle's going to play the next game. So we're moving into the part of the course where we talk about social cues. Social cues are the ways that we communicate without words. And some of the ways that we communicate without words are things like body language. What do you think this person's body language is telling us? Hmm. Angry? Yeah. I'd say at least not happy, right? So that's one of the things that social cues can tell us about. Social cues also include facial expressions. What do you think she's feeling? Happiness. Yeah, I thought happy too. Social cues also include things like tone of voice and voice volume. What do you think this person's trying to tell us? Be quiet. I agree. That's some pretty clear body language, isn't it? And then social cues also include things like personal space that we talked about with boundaries, right? So let's play a social cue game that can help us with one of those things. Which one is it, Michelle?
We are going to talk about voice volume. Has anyone ever reminded you to use your indoor voice? Just me?
Nope, me too, for
Oh,
sure.
I didn't see you there, Sarah, but I figured that you've heard that once or twice as well.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good reminder that there's a time and place for each volume level we have, right? So we have a nice little scale here that goes from 0, which is a whisper, or no talking, sorry, and then a 5, which is yelling, right? So there's a big range in between. So we are going to show you some pictures and you tell us where on the thermometer is the appropriate voice volume. So we have 0, no talking, silenced. And then we have 1, which is a whisper, right? Like telling a secret. We have a 2, which is an inside private voice. So I'm just talking to the person next to me. I don't want everybody to hear me. And then we have an inside public voice, which is number 3, which is answering a question in class. So I want everybody in the room to hear what I'm saying. We have 4, which is our outdoor voice, right? So talking across like a field or talking so somebody could hear us across a big room. And then 5, which is in fact yelling. So let's see where these situations fall on that scale. All right, what about this one? Number 1, you're at a barbecue with friends. Which voice volume is appropriate?
Why don't you go ahead and put the number that you think goes with this in the chat? At a cookout, a barbecue with buddies. Colin thinks a 4. I think a 4 too. Jenna agrees. So does Iris. All right, there's those 4s rolling in.
Yeah, I think we're outside, so I wouldn't have to use my outdoor voice the whole time because my voice might get a little bit tired. But if I wanted to yell across the field to my friend, I could, right? We're outside, so I can
Hey,
use,
Michelle, put a hot dog on for me.
right? I think that's totally cool and appropriate. What about this? You're doing a group project in a classroom.
Hmm.
Have a vote for 2. Lots of votes for 2. Iris says maybe a 0. I might be able to, it'd be really hard to work on a project for a long period of time without talking at all, right? We'd really have to know what we're doing. So if I had questions or had to talk about something with the people in my group, I think I could use a 2 or at least a 1, right? But I think if the expectation is that we're working in groups with other people, I think it's okay to talk with them. No problem, Iris. So I agree. A one or a two is probably pretty appropriate. I probably won't want to use my level three voice. I don't want everybody in the room to have to listen to whatever I'm saying, right? But I want the people right next to me to be able to hear.
I'm imagining that this is some sort of like trivia competition, right?
Ooh.
And if your team is over there talking, working on your project, and mine is over here, my team might be like, what are they saying? What are they saying? I want to steal their answers, right? So that there's no answer stealing, I want only the person next to me to be able to hear what I'm saying. Good one. What do we got next?
We have the library. You're at the library. What voice volume should you use at the library?
Colin says maybe a 1. Jenna says a 0 or a 1. Iris says a 1.
I agree. I think I can use a one if I'm like asking the librarian a question or maybe I'm requesting a book, but if I can help it, I'm gonna try and stick to a zero, right? I think that people in a library are trying to read or focus, so we should probably stay quiet most of the time. But I agree, a one if necessary. All right, what if you're giving a speech or teaching a class?
Hmm.
What level voice is that teacher probably using?
I think that we're in a little bit of a different situation here because we have microphones so that everybody can hear us that way. But if I was in a bigger room, I think you guys are right. I think I might want my inside public voice.
Yeah, I think it's really hard when a teacher is a little bit quiet and only the first two rows can hear them, right? That gets a little bit frustrating if you're in the back.
Oh man, this is 100% my water aerobics class. I go to a water aerobics class and there's two of like the three instructors that I have no idea what they're saying most of the time because it's just not loud enough. Where it's a really big room, I think that they could use with doing their outdoor voice, but it's really uncomfortable when you can't hear what the teacher is saying.
Yeah,
Ira says maybe you could use a 5 if somebody's not listening. Maybe. I think that we want to try to avoid that, but I've heard it happen.
agreed.
What's next?
Oh no, there was a car accident and someone is hurt. Should we whisper?
Help, I need some help. Help, help.
Yeah, I don't think everybody agrees that that's the best way to get help. I think we should use a five, right? We want as many people to hear us as possible, as quickly as possible. So in this situation, it is totally okay to yell as loud as you can.
All right, want one more?
I think we should finish up with one
All
more.
right. Let's go one more on this one. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. You need to let your friend know that they have food stuck in their teeth.
Hey, Michelle, there's something in your teeth.
Yeah,
Ooh, I'm
that does
embarrassed.
not, yeah, that does not feel great.
Yep, I think that we want it to be as quiet as possible, but make sure that they hear us, right? Would you want to know if you had something stuck in your teeth?
I think so.
Would you want everybody to know that you have something stuck in your teeth?
Not if I could help it.
I agree with Jenna. Yeah, I want to know. No, I don't want everybody to know. So I want it to be kind of a secret, right? Psst. Right. A little hint without the whole room knowing. Why? Why not just yell it?
I think that this is one of those unwritten rules, right? Like we should tell our friend because we want them to be um, aware so that they're not embarrassed later when they get home and they're like, oh, how long has that been in there? Right? Why didn't anybody tell me? But we should tell them as quietly as possible so that we don't embarrass our friends. So I
Yeah,
think
that's what
those
Jenna
are,
says. It's embarrassing. Yeah.
yeah, one of
This
those.
also goes with one of our group norms. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. So if I had stuff in my teeth, I'd want you to let me know too, but I'd want you to let me know quietly. So not, we don't draw more attention. Right? Excellent job, gang. Another game. Another game. This one, we're talking about talking. I think when we think about social skills, a lot of people think about being able to talk to other people, right? And having conversations. This is like before we even get to that. How do you know if somebody wants to have a conversation? Let's find out. Let's play a little game that we call Do They Want to Talk? And our answers are going to be sure or nope. So you can do S or N in the chat. You can write the whole word if you want, but if you want to be quick, S or N. I'll show you a picture, tell you a little story. You tell me if they're ready for a conversation. Here is our first one. This gentleman's getting a workout in. He's got his earbuds in. He's doing some bicep curls. Does he want to have a chat? Jenna and Iris are saying nope, and so does Colin. How can you tell? What are your clues, Michelle? What do you think this makes us not want to go and have a conversation with this guy?
I think headphones are in. Yeah. So Jenna and Colin, I agree. He has headphones in, right? So that's telling me he's already listening to something. So he'd have to put something down, take an earbud out just in order to start the conversation. And then Colin says he looks pretty busy. I agree with that too, right? He looks like he's focused and busy and trying to do his workout. So I don't think he's ready to chat.
I think headphones or earphones, anything along earbuds, anything along those lines are a very clear leave me alone, right? It's kind of like body language, but it's headphones, earbud language, right? No thanks. I think you're right. This gets a nope. All right. This guy's reaching his hand out to you. What do you think? Jenna says, sure. Iris says, yes. I think so too. Reaching your hand out is kind of like saying, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. Right? This looks like an invitation to a conversation. He's welcoming. He wants to shake your hand. This looks like, let's have a little chat. Next up, we've got this woman is taking her book to the park. Does she want to have a chat? The nopes are rolling in. I think this is almost the same as the person who was working out, right? It doesn't look like she's lifting weights, but she's doing something else. Like she's doing her preferred task. She's as tuned into this book as the person is who's listening to music, right? Let's let her read. Excellent. What about this coworker? Do they want to talk about Dancing with the Stars? Jenna says she's busy. I agree. Her hands are literally full. Her desk is full of projects. It looks like she's talking on the phone too. This is not a good time to talk about who's doing the best. And was that actually Samba? I know this much. That's all I know about Dancing with the Stars. All right, one more here. It's a networking event for people to meet and talk about whatever the specific topic is. What do you think? Do they want to have a chat? Jenna says, sure. Colin agrees. Yeah, a networking event is specifically for people to get together and meet new people and talk about things, right? And this is also, it's hard to tell because it's a picture, but this is like a half a circle. And so there's space for somebody to come and stand right here, right? And that could be you. And if you join this circle, you could kind of make the circle a little bit bigger by turning yourself out and making sure that there's space. So if somebody else wants to join the conversation, they could, right? So I think, again, this gets a sure. I think one of the clues that makes it think like these people are open to chatting is people are wearing name tags, right? So I think if people are wearing like name tags that they've just made, it's a good clue that they want people to know their names. So maybe if you wanted to start a conversation, you'll know their name. Cool. Michelle, if you've been talking to somebody for a while, how can you tell if they want to keep talking?
That is tricky. And I think that's going to bring us to round two of this game, which is, do they want to keep talking? Let's look at this.
We're still using sure and nope, but do they want to continue the conversation?
All right. Does this person want to keep talking? Jenna votes for nope.
And you were telling us that it does not look like this friend wants to continue chatting. What might be that clue?
Hmm. I think when I look at my watch, it means, yeah, Jenna says looking at his watch. I agree, right? When I'm looking at my watch, it means I might have to be somewhere else, or this is taking a really long time and I have something else to do.
Yep. Oh, geez, look at the time. I think my mom's calling me. Yeah, that's a sign that I'm over this. What about this one? Does it look like he's enjoying this conversation?
Hmm, tricky. It looks like he's a little uncomfortable.
I agree. And it might be he wants to be in the conversation, but the topic that we're discussing is uncomfortable, but he still wants to be in the conversation. But I think I'd probably slow down and give him a break and be like, we still good? So I think minimally this needs a check-in.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
Hmm. Jenna says sure.
Let's do an
So,
age check of the audience. Do you know who this is?
hmm. Jenna
He says,
does.
of course. Yeah. It's Brittany. I think she's smiling and she's nodding. She looks like she's enjoying the conversation, right? I think this gets a sure she wants to be there. She's engaged? Who knew?
Or maybe just engaged in the conversation.
Oh, engaged in the conversation. Yes. I was like, is she getting? I thought she was married. I don't know. All right.
No, what
Celebrity
they're
gossip is
trying to
not something that I keep up with. All right. One more. I
do. One more.
think she gives like a quick nod and then like looks away and is like, oh, hey.
Yeah,
Jenna's giving it a nope. What do you think, Michelle?
I agree. She's like, oh, I gotta go over here, right? I acknowledge you. I'm waving to someone else. I gotta go.
Yeah, and the smile looks like, sure. It doesn't look like, if I could pause it, I think her mouth is smiling, but I don't think her eyes are. So her face doesn't really agree with itself, which is a clue that maybe her face, she might be saying, oh, yes, It feels a little sarcastic, like she's not really into it. And then as soon as she can, she's like trying to get somebody else's attention to get into a different conversation. So I think this is a like, oh, I want to leave.
Agreed. It's not a genuine smile, in my opinion.
I agree. I think it's time to look ahead. So thank you for joining with our webinar with the Arc of New Jersey and Strive Worldwide. If you are interested in taking a course with Strive Worldwide, we've got one more before the end of the year, starting on November 10th. And we got one more term, but 4 more courses that you could try. We've got a Monday, Wednesday, 1 o'clock class. It's cooking and meal planning. This is one of our fan favorites. We've got a Monday, Wednesday at 2:30, which is Employment 101. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:30, we've got First Aid Basics. And Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m., we've got a Critical Thinking class. This is really an all-star lineup, some of our best. So if you wanted to take a course with us, you can check us out at pslstrive.org. That's our parent company website, and then we're under programs. So check us out there. And before we wrap up, finally, let's talk roses and thorns. I think Michelle's going to drop a link in the chat for you. At the end of each of our seminars, we wrap up with a rose and a thorn. We want to know what's one thing that you learned today that you didn't know before, and then share if anything was too complicated or confusing. And we'd love to have you type your answers in the chat box, but if you're a person that likes to think a little bit about it, you can go ahead and click that link that Michelle dropped, and then you can fill out the form that says the same thing a little bit later if that works for you. Looks like Daniel has learned about boundaries. Great. What was your rose for today, Michelle?
My rose for the day was meeting all of you. I really love it or leave it because like again, I think it's so cool to see kind of those controversial, do you like this? Do you not? Spicy food or mayonnaise or clowns, right? I think it's cool to learn about people that way.
Is mayonnaise the opposite of spicy food?
Maybe.
Maybe. They're kind of really the opposite, aren't they?
They are.
I like that game a lot too, because sometimes when we're like, ooh, I really don't like something, I must be the only person on the planet that doesn't like this. And I like learning things that I have in common with other people.
Yeah.
Right? If you were to take our full Unwritten Rules Social Skills Decoded course, we also do a similar game, but we talk about strengths and weaknesses and like, what am I good at and what am I not so good at? And I sometimes feel bad about myself because I'm really not very good at math. But then I find out that a lot of the other people in the room don't feel like they're very good at math either. So it kind of makes me feel better about myself sometimes too. Jenna learned about body language. That sounds fun too. We have lots of body language stuff in our full course as well. So fun. All right, gang, I think we're probably going to call it here. I'm going to stop sharing and we'll see you next month.
Yeah, we have, I think, one more on the schedule. So we'll see you guys for that. And thank you so much.
We'll talk about money in November. See you then.
See you
Bye,
in November,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.